Welcome back to another episode of Play by Play, presented by Win or Lose Sports, sponsored by Project 360 Studios, p360studios.com. Creativity comes full circle. So we're going to dive right into episode number 11 after week number 10 in the NFL. So the Cowboys played a phenomenal game this week against the Giants, and a lot of people are saying, "Oh, it was against the Giants. We got 600 offensive yards against the Giants." Some teams that you may like or are your favorite teams haven't gotten 600 yards in 2 games, let alone 1 game. And it doesn't matter what the opponent is or who the opponent is. If your offense can produce 600 yards, that has something to do with more that the offense can execute what is being put out there than it is the defense on the other end. Because this same offense who got 600 yards against the Giants got 400 plus yards against the Eagles last week. The problem I have is a lot of people want to take what the Cowboys do and minimize it. When we beat teams that we're supposed to beat, it's like, oh, you were supposed to beat that team. You were supposed to win against the Giants. You're supposed to beat the Patriots. You're supposed to beat the Commanders, whoever else we beat. We haven't played the Commanders yet. But what I'm saying is, when other teams beat the Chargers or the Patriots, is like, oh man, like the Lions, for example, this week played the Chargers and they barely won. And still the Lions are considered number 1 or close to number 1 in the NFC, or, you know, in that top tier of NFC teams. When we lose to San Francisco, there's, the Cowboys aren't relevant. You know, they can't win. They can't beat great teams. They can't beat the good teams of the NFC. And it's like, oh, they're a terrible team. They only can beat bad teams. When the Jaguars lose to the San Francisco 49ers, the Jaguars had a bad week. Everybody's entitled to a bad week. Everybody's entitled to a bad week except for the Cowboys, because everyone expects the Cowboys to win every game because the fan base of the Cowboys have strong opinions about the team, which I don't think is a problem. The problem is that because the Cowboys have a strong fan base and the fan base has a strong opinion, other teams feel like, oh, they shouldn't have this opinion about their team because they haven't won a Super Bowl since 1995. The problem is your team or the fan base for your team doesn't have a strong opinion of your team. That's the problem. There are some delusional Cowboys fans who say this is our year, we're going to win a Super Bowl this year. Then there are some Cowboys fans like myself who say, okay, this is a problem. This is what we need to fix. This is how I think we should fix it. There's a chance that we can make a deep run in the playoffs. And then there's some years I feel like, okay, 2016, we got Dak, we got Zeke, and they're both playing phenomenal. This could be the year. Our defense is not that great in 2016, but it's okay. We can stop the run. We couldn't stop the pass back then. Now we can stop, people can't pass against us because we have so many weapons on defense. The pass rush, plus we got Bland, Diggs, who's hurt right now, and we got Gilmore, along with other pieces of the puzzle when it comes to our defense. Micah Parsons, of course, DeMarcus Lawrence, Odigizua, and all the other front linemen of the defense. The opinions of others who say, the Cowboys, they shouldn't lose to these teams, to the Eagles, which was a close game, a game we should have won or could have won. There were some mistakes by some of the players, but mostly it was the time management or discipline things that could have been little things that could have changed or we could have done differently that could have won us the game. There are teams out there who lose to the good teams too and only can win against the middle of the road or the lower tiered teams. But those teams are still being praised for the wins, the same type of wins, the same caliber of wins that the Cowboys are doing. But the difference is the Cowboys are getting these wins in domineering fashion. When you win by 40 points, when you win by 30 plus points in these games, that should open some eyes. But the problem is it's not. It's not opening eyes because everybody has a stigma about the Cowboys and their fan base or whoever or the organization or whatever. But it'll be surprising when the Cowboys end up winning certain games and making a deep run in the playoffs. What are they going to say then? Oh, they were hurt. Or, the Philadelphia Eagles had players that were hurt, or the Miami Dolphins had players that were hurt or they were out. Seattle, they had a bad week. Doesn't matter. Give us the same praise that you give these other teams when they beat teams. Give us the same compassion that you give these other teams when they lose to teams. When Jaguars lose to the San Francisco 49ers and it's a bad week, Cowboys have a bad week too. It proves it. When we played against the Cardinals and when we played against the 49ers. Eagles, I wouldn't say it was a bad week. I would say that's we executed the way we needed to, but we just didn't finish off the game. And that's important, of course. But I want to talk about Dak Prescott. There was a conversation to say, is Dak and the should he be in the MVP conversation or should he be considered one of the great quarterbacks of the Dallas Cowboys because of how he executes in these games? When you get 300 plus yards and multiple touchdown passes, I mean that's a great game. I don't care what team you play for or what your background is or how you play before. A 300 plus game, 400 plus game, which he did multiple times this season, is a great. It should be in some kind of consideration. I'm not saying Dak Prescott is the MVP or should be in the MVP conversation, but I don't think he should be. I don't think it's a laughable suggestion that he should be in that conversation. So Dak passed for 35 for 26, 404 yards, 4 touchdown passes. He had 1 interception. That kind of scared me, that 1 interception, because it was early in the game. So when we look at the beginning of the game, the play calling to me, and I'm sure to a lot of people, a lot of Cowboys fans, it was too conservative. When you run the ball on first down, you get a yard because Tony Pollard is not the back that they thought he would be. He's not Zeke Elliott, obviously. He doesn't have the power to run like Zeke Elliott. To me, Pollard is more of a explosive back. So we have a steady back, which was Zeke. We give him the ball, run on first down. Okay, we pass it on second down. If we happen to go on third down and need a run, we either give it to Zeke on short yardage or we do a draw play and you got Tony Pollard coming out the backfield for an explosive run. Or on a first down, you have a play that you want to do a screen pass to Tony Pollard. Either way, Tony Pollard is not the explosive back on a play-by-play scenario. He's not going to get the ball every play and have an explosive run. He hasn't had an over 100-yard game since the first game of the season. So I think that's one mistake that we made was depending on Tony Pollard to be that guy. He's not that guy at all. He finished with 55 yards on 15 carries, 3.67 yards per carry, which is below the league's average. Rico, who had 79 yards on 12 carries, 6.58 yards per carry. Now he should get more of some of the workload on that on play-by-play scenario because he is a bigger back. He can't take some of those hits, and he's not going to tire as fast. So either using those two back and forth, play-by-play, I think that'll make the run game more effective, which I think it worked this week against the Giants, even though we were playing the Giants. But like I said this on last week's weekly pick'em with Lance, is these are the games that we should try to figure out what are we going to do on offense? How are we going to identify ourselves on offense? Who is the Cowboys on offense? We're not just going to be a pass-first team or a pass-only team or a pass-heavy team. We have to run the ball because we know if Dak is too overwhelmed or he's too pressured by some teams like San Francisco, who has a great, obviously we've seen it with Chase Young against the Jaguars, and with the addition of Chase Young against the Jaguars this week, is that their pressure is heavy. Our lineman is not, our offensive lineman is not as good as we are used to having it in the past. So we do have to make an adjustment on offense, which is, we got to pound the ball sometimes. We got to run the ball sometimes to take that workload off of Dak. And I think we did that. We kind of did that. So these few games before we go back to the Eagles before they come to us, let's figure out who we are on offense. Let's figure out what we're going to do, how we're going to identify ourselves, how we can win games, especially these close games that we probably should win. And when Dak is not playing his best, we got to figure out a way to win anyway. It can't just be all on Dak because he's not the QB of the century to bring us back from a losing game and make a game-winning drive. He's not that guy. Not to say he's not a great quarterback because he is, but he's not a come-from-behind type of quarterback. We all know that. And it's nothing against Dak. He's a phenomenal, like I said. So with this game yesterday, like I said, we started off being very conservative on offense, which it had me worried a little bit. Like, what are we doing, Mike McCarthy? Like, what are we calling? We calling run play, first down, 2 yards. Okay, second down, we do another draw play. Now it's 3rd and 7 because Pollard is not gonna do it. So on 3rd and 7, we throw an underneath pass. And I think it was dropped. And starting off the game that way, it worries me. Because if it were against another team, a more elite offense than the Giants, we would have had some issues. Trust me, we would have. But I'm glad to see the adjustment that was made, getting the ball downfield. You got Brandon Cooks who can outrun anybody on the Giants defense, throw him the ball downfield. And they did that. They got different play runs like the CD Lamb run out the backfield for a touchdown. You got the Ferguson touchdown pass by Dak Prescott. Got the CD Lamb, the Brandon Cooks touchdown pass from Dak Prescott. So it's like we're figuring out how to win, how to play, how to be more efficient on offense, but we have to figure out that sooner, especially against better teams. We have to do that early. We have to come into these games, knowing, okay, what are we going to do? This is the format of how we're going to run. This is the playbook. Let's get this done early. Let's knock them out the park. Let's punch them in the mouth and get this done early. And I'm happy for a win. I'm more than happy for a win. And I'm glad to see Dak playing the way that he's known to be playing. I think what happened was before, early in the season, it was Mike McCarthy. These are the plays, and this is what we're going to run. Don't steer away from calling audible or from what I want to do on this offense. And seeing that, the first couple of games, we did against the Jets, Giants, and then the Jets, then the Patriots. But then when we face the Arizona Cardinals, it's like Mike McCarthy said, okay, let's settle down a little bit. We're going to run these plays, and this is what we're going to run. I know we were successful against these other teams, but let's stick to the script, which Dak did, and it did not work. First couple games, they were easy games because their defense is trash. I'm sorry. The Giants defense and the Patriots defense are trash. The Jets, on the other end, they didn't have offense to combat what we did on our defensive end. So we got a lot of defensive touchdowns in that game. And then Dak capitalized off of that because of the momentum the team had. Now, what happened was against the Giants, of course, against the Chargers, they said, okay, I know we got the script, we got these plays that we want to run, but Dak, let's use you as to who you are as a mobile quarterback. He's not necessarily a running quarterback, but he's a mobile quarterback to where he can move around in the pocket and be successful as far as getting the ball downfield. Be successful as to if I need to run, I can run. If I have to scramble around in the pocket and still get the ball downfield, I can do that because I am mobile. And let's use those legs that I have and the athleticism that I have to help us win games. And I think they finally allowed him to do that. And that should continue to happen. I mean, it happened that he used them against Philadelphia, but we just happened to lose that game. And I think moving forward against Carolina next week, let's continue to do that. Let's continue on that trend, Dak. Let's show ourselves, our coaching staff, our fans, and the opponents of what we can produce on this field, no matter what the circumstances is. No matter if we're losing, no matter if we're winning, no matter if we're losing, no matter if it's tied, we're going to show them who we are on offense on this team, and we can win games. We can't win tough games. Not saying that the Carolina game is going to be a tough game, but use that as an example to go out and show the media or whoever that it's still on a consistent basis of what we can produce on this field. So another Texan team I want to talk about is the Houston Texans, who CJ Stroud, Ohio State alumni, of course, being from Ohio, that's Ohio State is my team. But CJ Stroud showed some wit about himself, not just because they won the game, but it's how they won the game in his hands with 41 seconds left to go in the game. The Texans get the ball, I think, on their 41-yard line. And the first pass was to Dalton Schultz, former Cowboy. They get a 20-yard pass, 20-something yard pass. Second play was to Noah Brown, former Cowboy, by the way. Another 20-yard pass or so to get the ball downfield and to set up for the winning field goal. A game that I didn't think they were going to win. I actually picked them to lose that game. But to come back and win that game like that, the conversation of him being Rookie of the Year is out the window. Like that's clear, not out the window, but that's clear. He's clearly a Rookie of the Year. But the MVP conversation is the conversation that he needs to be in. No matter, I wouldn't say no matter what the record is, but if they happen to win this division, there's no doubt that he should be considered in the MVP race or in that conversation at least, because he played phenomenal. He's been playing phenomenal all year. Only 2 interceptions. The second interception happened this past weekend, and he doesn't look like a rookie quarterback. He doesn't look like a guy that's been put on a team to say, okay, there you go. Here's the reins to the team. Lead us to victory. It's like he's been there before. And I don't know if it's from the experience at Ohio State, or it's just the moxie that he has, the confidence that he has in going into these games. Like, hey, I can win this game. I can win these games. Put the ball in my hand. Let's go down there and win. And I love it. I love the confidence. I love to see him play. I love the confidence that he exudes on the field. And I want to see, I mean, as a rookie, this is amazing. I want to see what it's looking like in year 2, year 3, year 4. Like, where will he be in this MVP conversation? Where would the Texans be in the NFL standings? I just think that he's doing an amazing job. Coaching staff, of course, doing an amazing job with him and developing him as a quarterback, as an NFL quarterback. And I hope to see him successful. I mean, as an Ohio State fan, I hope to see CJ Stroud successful. I mean, I wanted the same thing for Justin Fields, of course, in Chicago, but, it's not working out that way. They don't look good at all. Now they have Bajent starting over. Well, he was hurt. Justin Fields was hurt, so Bajent was starting, and, they still not win. So it's not just Justin Fields. I think it's just the whole organization, as the Chicago Bears are not, doing what they're supposed to do to win football games all around. So that's it. I just, we'll see what happens with CJ. We'll see what happens with Justin. Last night's game, the Jets and the Raiders. We'll talk more about that on the weekly Pick'em show with Lance and myself. Like I said, all these shows are on YouTube. You can get our clips on Instagram, TikTok, wherever you are on social media, Facebook. You can subscribe on YouTube. Make sure you follow us on all social media, and subscribe to our podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, wherever you find your podcasts. Look for the Win or Lose Sports Show is coming back. I had an issue this past weekend, but our show is going to come back. Win or Lose Sports Show, also on YouTube or wherever you find your podcast. So thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time on Play by Play.